Hello and welcome to The Insider, a show designed to clue you into the biggest news, events, and announcements inside the video games industry. Discussing with you some things you may know, some things you may not, and glue holds it all together is a little bit of my own opinion. My name is Paul James, thank you very much for watching, and let's get for their episode.
Gotham, this is your only warning. Abandon the city.
The return of Batman is getting ever closer. There's been teasers, there's been some tweets, there's been nothing officially confirmed yet though. And this week's episode of The Insider is going to explore all the things that have been discussed, specifically in the last week for the most part, and what that kind of means for this seemingly inevitable Batman game going forward.
Bruce, I ask that you honor the Wayne family legacy and commit yourself to the improvement of Gotham City, its institutions, and its citizens.
So there has been speculation for quite some time now that Warner Brothers Montreal have been developing, and keep in mind this is the team that developed Batman Arkham Origins, a new Batman title that is essentially focused on the Court of Owls. Now, I didn't know much about the Court of Owls for quite some time, and I had to hit up a few kind of more comic book Batman enthusiast friends to kind of shed a bit of light on this a few months back when the rumours first started to swirl. But in the case of the last week, things have become a little more concrete. Now, again, Warner Brothers Montreal did do Origins, so they've got some history with the Batman Arkham games anyway. But Batman Day was just last week, and there was a tweet, well, there was lots of tweets going out relating to a whole host of different Batman things. But Warner Brothers Montreal, who have not tweeted or used social media, like their actual studio account, have not used social media in about 4 years since they did Origins. They tweeted out all of a sudden. And what it was the Batman logo kind of plastered up upon a building. This was a thing that was actually happening. But they tweaked the video somewhat, and some little images kind of popped up on the screen. And some diehard fans then, picked that up and dissected it and looked through it. And basically what they're suggesting is that this is confirmation of the whole Court of Owls thing. Furthering that even further was the fact that Scott Snyder, who is a big part of all things Batman, in terms of writing, in terms of development, in terms of just core ideas when it comes to the Batman franchise, also tweeted out about the image and kind of loosely alluding to the game and the fact that he was super excited for it, and finished with the hashtag Beware the Court of Owls. That tweet's now been deleted, maybe for obvious reasons. He's kind of jumped the gun in some way. But it's a really interesting prospect, and I'm really keen to see what this means for the game going forward.
Please do not waste it all on fast cars and outrageous clothes and the pursuit of a destructive lifestyle.
Now, all this stuff is really super interesting. But when are we going to find out officially about this game? A lot of speculation had mounted, but given the timing of when this started to leak, and then the fact that both Sony and Xbox had respectively announced their own separate events for the exact same week, literally within an hour or two of each other. What we were getting via PlayStation was another state of play. Xbox was bringing in Inside Xbox. Both of them had promised surprises. And it was fairly reasonable for people, fans, or just kind of games savvy people, to assume that Batman was going to appear most likely at PlayStation, but you couldn't rule out the fact that it was going to be at Inside Xbox either. And it turned out it didn't appear at either. And so the mystery kind of continues a little bit further. It's now been a few days since both of those events and since the initial tweets and kind of leaks and bits and pieces in the first place. And we still aren't any closer to any sort of solution here. So we have to wonder when it's actually going to happen. When does that damn wall break? It's a big question, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comments, so please sound off below with what you think. Regardless of when we get the actual announcement, I've got a few theories relating to the game and when we might actually see it. So firstly, given that we're getting close to the end of a generation here, next year is when the launch of the PS5 and the currently codenamed Xbox Scarlet both launch. And you have to think that this is perhaps either one of those generation straddling games or kind of a last hurrah, I guess, for the current console generation. And that kind of opens up a bunch of different cans of worms in terms of what we expect from the game. Now, firstly, I believe the game is going to be a current gen title. Maybe it'll get some sort of port. Who knows? We understand at this point that both consoles are going to be backwards compatible in some way. So it may not be necessary to release an updated, ported version of the game. But that remains to be seen. It says a lot about the game based on when it releases. So if this thing is a PS5 Xbox Scarlet game, then the expectations are that this game is doing something different in some way, shape, or form. I think the expectation might be the case anyway, because the Arkham trilogy is now complete. But I think there's more heat on the game if it's a next-gen title. If it just releases sometime next year, kind of closing out the generation in a lot of ways, there's obviously still a lot of pressure because those Batman games have been exceptional. All 4 of the core games, even Blackgate that came out to the Vita and then was eventually ported elsewhere, really great game. There's no bad Batman Arkham games to this point. There's some weaknesses. The Batmobile, for example, in Night was one of them. But the thing about it is that I think there's more expectation on the game if it's a next-gen release. If it is a current-gen title, I think a few people will be kind of happy, similar to what we've recently seen in the case of Borderlands 3. A fair few people will be happy if it's just kind of more of the same in some ways, if it's just more of the Batman Arkham formula, as opposed to if it was a new game where with new technology and new capabilities come new expectations. That is a really important difference, and something that will be dictated heavily based on what systems it actually releases on, when it's actually releasing on them. We need to have a lot of faith in this studio. It's been a really weird thing in terms of this generation. Obviously, keep in mind, Asylum, City, and Origins were both last-gen titles, PS3, Xbox 360. And 2 of those 3 have seen remasters this generation. We've seen City and Asylum both get ported onto the PS4 to go alongside Night, and it's made up the Arkham trilogy. And Origins has been ignored for some reason. And there's this kind of prevailing theory on the internet that Origins is a far lesser title and it's not worth your time. And personally, I couldn't agree with those people any less. It is well and truly deserving of the same plaudits the other games have received. It's an excellent title and is well worth your attention. If you've not gone and played it, go out and play it. Someone, go out and port it and put it on the PS4 and Xbox One, please. But all 4 of those games are excellent, and a new title from WB Montreal deserves all the same tender love and care that the other games have all received so far, and I really look forward to seeing what it will be on this current generation. Please give it the time of day, give it some credit, give them some time, make the game work. So that concludes this week's episode of The Insider. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing, all those buttons down below here, and hit the notification bell. That way you're alerted to every new video the moment it goes live on the channel. That includes Patched, The Insider, Player 2 Plays Late, Game Review, Gamer School, and a whole bunch more. There's some awesome stuff there, so please be sure to go and check it out. Visit the website, player2.net.au, where you'll find reviews, previews, opinion pieces, news, features, links to our podcast series, the Player 2 Pixelcast, Patched, and Dev Diary. There's some awesome things there. Go and check them out. If it's the podcast, give them a 5-star review. Help boost them up the charts a little bit. Helps with the exposure. There's Patreon, patreon.com/player2au. Kick in a few bucks. At the lower tiers, you'll get early access to episodes. Higher tiers, you'll get monthly episode exclusives. So please help that Player 2 dream to grow. Finally, there's Twitter. You can find me at Paul James Games. The website you'll find at Player2au. And until next time, that is Batman. Hopefully in the next few days, we learn more about what this Court of Owls game is. If not, the speculation is just going to continue to build, and we're going to continue to cross our fingers and hope for it to finally get announced. But until that point, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Well, there's a big, big sound from the west of the town. It's the sound of the mighty giant.